Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. There we go, we're back on screen. Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show as we take a look across our region. I'm Stephen Brown and I'm delighted to say, joining myself and Stephen Downs, it is BBC Radio Stalwart, it is Katherine Hannah. Katherine, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Stalwart, does that mean aging? I think that's the polite description for that. I'm also pleased to see that you got my rider for picking a photo of me that is much, much pre me having children and aging quite substantially. So thank you for that. Much appreciated.
We aim to please on this show, Katherine.
Of course.
Exactly. Now, if you are watching us on YouTube, please do like the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you're watching along on X, please do like and retweet us. And if you're listening on Spotify later, please do leave us a rating and review. Well, Katherine, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to start with a little bit of Leeds United chat because there's always something going on.
Always.
With Lights. I guess we've got to kind of round off last season, though, and we were having a little chat before we started recording about, obviously, playoff disappointment. We should be used to it now as Leeds fans. How do you reflect on that? I mean, obviously, massively disappointing not to make the Premier League. And for me, I was convinced we would get a win at Wembley. I can't believe that, last 4 times we've been there, we've not scored a goal and we've lost tight games. I mean, it's just, it's not good, is it?
No, it's just really, really disappointing for everybody from a Leeds United point of view, because having been so rubbish in previous playoff finals, you kind of thought, come on, guys, third time lucky. And having gone into it on the back of such an amazing and convincing win against Norwich, you kind of put to the back of your mind all the really quite poor performances that had come prior to that and thought, hang on a minute, they might actually deliver this. And then sadly, just not to be yet again. I don't know what it is about Leeds and playoffs, but just didn't turn up on the day. And you have to say that on reflection, Southampton probably deserved it. And that's really disappointing. It's sort of almost, at least if they'd given their best and still lost, you kind of go, all right, fair play. But the fact that they didn't turn up and didn't really do themselves justice, you think, God, that's such a wasted opportunity yet again, and another season in the Championship. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting summer, certainly, now to see what the impact of missing out is, though. You have to say, Premier League's rubbish anyway. He wants to be dealing with that nonsense week in, week out. At least in the Championship, anybody can beat anybody. Premier League, there's never going to be that same level of competition. So I'm kind of looking at it on that point of view.
Yeah, it's so true, because I remember thinking even before the game, I was thinking, yeah, that's great, if you go up, but then we're actually in the Premier League now and we've got to try and win a game in the Premier League, which we all know we struggled with a little bit before. You mentioned there, obviously, what happens now with the club, and obviously the news cycle never seems to stop with Leeds United. There's something every day. Obviously, the big news last week coming in that Red Bull are going to be the new sponsors. They've got a minority stake in the club as well. Obviously, it's fair to say the fan base was certainly mixed in their reaction to that. Obviously, some concerns about where this will lead the club in the future, if they ever maybe plan to take over fully or anything like that. Other people looking at it, well, it's extra money into the club now, which can help us with financial fair play, PNR, or whatever it's kind of called these days. Where do you kind of stand on it, Katherine? What was your thoughts when it happened?
My immediate reaction is like, you kind of wonder, with a brand as big as Red Bull, and given their previous history and how they've dealt with the other football clubs that they've been involved with, you can entirely understand why, for a lot of Leeds fans, that sets alarm bells ringing, because you're kind of thinking, what is the end game here? Why are you doing this? You're not doing it because you've suddenly decided you just want to support Leeds United and are feeling generous, and here's a few million quid. And you sort of want to know what actually are your intentions here further down the line. I do also subscribe to the fact that, if you're going to get out of the Championship, you're going to be competitive in that division. You need the money at the end of the day. So it's going to be a big cash injection, but it's just long term. What is the plan? Does it start off with a minority shareholding, and then we're having this conversation 10 years down the line and they've suddenly taken over the club and have now rebranded it as Red Bull Yorkshire? You kind of think, what are you up to here? But you have to kind of look at it from both sides of the argument. If you put your journalist head on and go, right, okay, well, hopefully at some point we'll get an opportunity to ask questions of either Parag Marate again. He has spoken in the media recently, and have a chat with him and have a chat with the people at Red Bull and go, right, come on then, guys, what's the upshot of all of this? What are you going to do, and what reassurances can you give to Leeds fans who are understandably a little bit twitchy about your involvement? What are you up to here? What is the intention behind it all? And just see what answers they give us. But it's kind of, let's wait and see. But I totally understand people who have got serious reservations about it, because you look at their form with other clubs and go, don't like the look of that very much.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. And I guess moving on into kind of what Leeds have to do as a club this summer as well. I mean, obviously we had a lot of unrest last year. We just suffered relegation. We had all these loan players going out, and it was just absolute carnage really for the first couple of months of it. It seems like it will be more settled this summer, but there's still unresolved issues. I guess there's still question marks over loanees coming back. Are they going to get loaned out again? And also, you look at someone like Joe Rodon, is he going to get loaned again? I mean, what do you think the priorities are in terms of the transfers in the summer?
Yeah, I think just getting that squad assembled ASAP. If people are going to leave, then let's get those deals done. Hopefully there's some decent business. Ultimately, it's going to come down to what Daniel Farke wants, because I think, he's staying around. He will decide at the end of the day who he wants to stay, who he wants to go. If there are players who are due to come back on loan that he is just, not having them, then even if it means the club making something of a loss, then better to get them out of the way and get that done. I would really like them to show a bit of statement of intent and sign up Rodon. Now, I don't know how feasible that is, how much Spurs would want for him, whether he wants to stick around for another season in the Championship, what his options are, I don't know, because he's had a really good season. So you imagine there would be interest from elsewhere. But I think just to make sure that whoever comes in, whoever goes out, get the business done early so that when it comes to the opening games of the season, they don't have a repeat of the start of last season, where it felt very much that they were trying to get their ducks in a row. They were still assembling that squad. There was still a lot of questions about it all. Get your business done early so at least everybody knows where they stand, and then you start in and ready to go from day one.
Yeah, indeed. And obviously it's the big question is what happens with some of the big hitters, the front three, probably. You look at Rutter, Somerville, Monto. What do you guess is going to happen with those? Can you see all of them leading, a couple of them leading, maybe just one?
I mean, my predictions are notoriously garbage, so I wouldn't read anything into this whatsoever. I can see that Somerville will probably go. I can see that Nonto will probably go. I don't know how many tears will be shed if they did. I don't know. I mean, they're two phenomenally talented players, but because of everything that happened last season, and bottom line is, did either of them deliver when it really, really mattered? Not sure. I'd like to think that Rutter would stick around because he's such a phenomenal talent and such an exciting player to watch. Yes, a frustrating player to watch at times, but you'd like to think that he would stick around for a little bit longer. And then you've got players like Archie Gray, who Adam Pope, our Leeds United commentator, when he had the chat with Parag Marate, sort of put that to him, I think. And he was very pragmatic about it. And you can never say never in football if the money talks at the end of the day. But somebody like Archie Gray, it would be fantastic for Leeds to keep hold of, because he's such an integral part of that side and is just everything Leeds United. You start to lose players like that, and your fan base very quickly think that's not a good look, selling your homegrown talent like that, who've got so much phenomenal potential. You'd like to think he'd stick around for a little bit longer, but can never say never, sadly.
No, exactly. And it's that horrible term that they use, pure profit, isn't it? When you look at someone like Archie and the fact that he's come through the academy, and whereas I guess with Rutter, it's slightly different because we paid a large fee for him, not that long ago as well. Coming to the manager himself then, Daniel Farke, I mean, how do you assess his kind of tenure so far? Because obviously, I mean, a really incredible points tally, 90 points and to the playoff final, but I guess there's a sense, a little bit of not underachievement, but I mean, I was very surprised personally when we caught Leicester and Ipswich up finally, that we didn't kind of see it through. And I feel like, some of the results like QPR losing 4-0 there, and maybe a little bit of tactical inflexibility, not using more of the squad. I mean, what's your kind of thoughts on Farke generally?
I'm glad that he's sticking around. From a journalist point of view, he's great to deal with. He's very open and honest, and you can have a really good conversation with him. He's not afraid to give you a very lengthy answer when the mood takes him. So from that point of view, he's great. I can understand why people are asking questions, and I can understand those fans who are like a bit sick of the whole, oh, well, you got 90 points. Well, yeah, it doesn't mean anything if you don't get promoted. But I'm pleased that he's getting another crack at it, because I think he's earned the right for another crack at it. Let's get this squad put in place now, so that he's ready to go from the opening game of the season and see if he can repeat the feat. And hopefully, if he can mirror the success that he's had this season, next season, that should, you would like to think, be enough that Leeds can go up automatically without all this playoff nonsense, which quite frankly everybody could do without.
Yeah, just before we move on, is that kind of your expectation this season? It's got to be automatics, hasn't it, Catherine?
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, it's a weaker league as well, isn't it, compared to last year, you would think?
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, in terms of who's come down, yeah, you don't kind of go, don't fancy that much. Yeah, they've got to be aiming for automatic promotion. That was the aim for this season. Playoffs is always going to be tricky. You don't want to be getting involved with that because it is such a lottery. So have a real go at it. Get your squad sorted. Make some canny investments. Hopefully the recruitment will continue to be good, and they'll bring in some decent players, because there are a few areas where they probably do need to get things sorted out. And yeah, have a real go at it. You need stability. Any football club that's going to be successful, have that stability. Keep hold of Daniel Farker, which they are doing. Back him, see what he can deliver, and then reassess at the end of next season when, as I say, from a Leeds point of view, hopefully it will be Premier League football for all its faults, VAR and all.
Exactly.
Well, there was a big vote today, and it seems like the Premier League are keeping VAR.
Yeah.
What a sensible decision that is.
Yeah, 19-1 as well. There was literally like Wolves against the rest of the league. I was really surprised about that. I thought there would be a lot more teams voting to get a shot of it.
I'm shocked that our Huddersfield Town's best friends in Nottingham Forest didn't vote to get rid of VAR. The hypocrisy of the Premier League. But there we go. That's another subject. We won't get you to comment on that, Catherine. Obviously, you probably out of one of the presenters on the sports team, represent or sort of go to the most clubs, I would say. So you probably have a great idea of what's going on with Town and City. You do a lot of the Town coverage with Matty Glennon, who we both know quite well. He's a fantastic character to be around.
Fantastic character is one way of describing him. Regular troublemaker is what I would go with.
I'm sure, with throughout last season, it's been a bit of a terrible season for Town, really, and getting relegated. First time in 12 years we'll be playing League One football next year. But what were your overall impressions of Town last season? You were in the press box, often at quite a number of games. I mean, your thoughts, really?
Just not good enough at the end of the day. And any team that gets through that amount of managers in one season, you are going to be on a hiding to nothing. Matt Glennon will tell you that he felt they made a mistake keeping hold of Neil Warnock, that if they were going to make a change, they should have made it in the summer, have somebody ready to go. Then did they stick with Darren Moore for too long? Yes, football wasn't good enough. Players didn't seem to be buying into it. Too many managerial changes and not enough players delivering, sadly. I am, on the flip side of that, quite excited for Huddersfield Town next season. I'm excited to see what they can do in League One, because I really think that Kevin Nagle will back Michael Duff. And I was impressed with Michael Duff as well. We were both there at his managerial unveiling. I love that. I always feel, don't you feel when you hear a managerial unveiling that they're sat underneath a curtain waiting for somebody to go, ta-da! Here he is.
The shame of it is, though, we have had 4 unveilings in the last 12 months, so you kind of get to the point as a Town fan and think, right, well, I'd quite like to go with 1 year where we've just got one manager now for a change.
Exactly. It does get to a point where you do these press conferences and it's like, oh, here we go again. Welcome to Huddersfield Town. What are you, you feel like, oh, it's Groundhog Day. Come on. Yeah. I am impressed with Michael Duff. I think that's an astute appointment. I think he's got something about him. I don't think he'll take any messing about. He's got the calibre and he's got the experience in League One. He was obviously burned a little bit by his experience at Swansea. And I think that's maybe just given him that extra impetus that he is desperate to succeed at Huddersfield Huddersfield Town. So I think that's a canny appointment. And I do think that Kevin Nagle will financially back the club in League One. I get the impression that he's a man who likes to win, and he will throw some cash at it to make sure that happens. Now, the key thing for me with Town next season will be recruitment. They have got to get that right. And all the talk, Andre Breitenreiter's lasting legacy will be his absolutely damning assessment of that squad and some of the flaws within it, and some of the bad apples in his view. Now, I know that's only one person's point of view. There are two sides to every story, and the players might very much have a different viewpoint to Andre Breitenreiter. But they've got to get that sorted out so that everybody's singing from the same hymn sheet, and it's a squad that wants to be there, wants to be in League One, doesn't have aspirations above themselves, and is going to give it everything to try and have a successful season, which Huddersfield Town fans really deserve, because it's been bleak for so many seasons out of the last.
Great,
as you say, it's what, like 10 fighting relegation and then 2 the other end of the table. But a few more fighting at the right end would be nice.
What was your thoughts on, obviously last season there was a lot of probably quotable from a press point of view, quotable quotes from both the ownership and from managerial appointments, whether it's Neil Warnock or Andre Breitenreiter. I don't think Darren Moore quite had as many quotable
no,
points.
Bless him, lovely man, but quite hard work.
But I feel like, last season is going to be remembered for what was said off the pitch rather than on the pitch. And, it takes me back a few years, actually. I do remember quite a famous interview you did with the ex-chairman, Dean Oil, where he was pacing up and down beside a pool in Portugal. And he was basically saying, the fans need to get on board. And and that was sort of like the last time that I thought, maybe there was a big quote, like, a chairman coming out and saying things. And I think Kevin's so different from the ownership that we've had before that it's just a bit mad, really, what's gone on this season in terms of off the pitch as well as on the pitch.
Yeah, he's fascinating, is Kevin Nagle. And from a journalism point of view, it's absolute gold, because it's all just out there. You're not left guessing. You can hear exactly what he's thinking because he tells everybody. And credit to him for that. Now, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, because there is the school of thought, should you maybe be keeping some of these conversations a little bit more behind closed doors? I'm not sure how helpful it is, particularly when you've got a manager who's struggling to have your chairman so publicly saying, well, maybe I think you should have done this or that should have happened or what have you. But, credit to him. As you say, we cover Leeds, Bradford, Huddersfield. Bradford City fans would give their back teeth for a chairman and owner who was quite as vocal as Kevin Nagle. Now, Stefan Rupp, to give him his due, has been a little bit more public-facing recently, and there is a fans forum coming up with him involved. So credit to him for that. But yeah, it's a fascinating one. I think the thing with Kevin Nagle, and it's great that he is so open to communication with fans, particularly, you still get the sense that he is relying a lot on the advice that he's been given, and he will put his hands up to say, yeah, we've made mistakes here, we've got things wrong, we've maybe given people too much time with Darren Moore, maybe should have made changes earlier. So he's very much still relying on the people around him. Are they the right people? That's the question, and that brings back to the recruitment. Are they going to do the job that he wants them to do? Because he's clearly trusting them to give him the required insight into English football that he maybe doesn't have, And
like I say, it's a massive summer, and I think they've got to get promoted at the first attempt, if I'm being totally honest. I think the pressure is really on. That's just my personal opinion, but I think that's shared by quite a large sway of the fan base. Yeah,
no, I agree with that. You'd like to think that very least they'd be up there challenging, you would like to think. But I'm a bit hesitant to kind of pass judgment on that until we get to, again, opening game of the season and we see what they've done in terms of recruitment. Because you imagine there might be quite a few leave over the summer, you would expect. Maybe a few that need to leave, and some that, will fancy their chances of playing above League One level. And then it's who they bring in to replace those, whether they are the right calibre and the right character that can deliver the kind of football that you want to watch for Huddersfield Town.
Just before I bring Browney back in for one or two questions by Gaz on Bradford City, have obviously known you presenting on the BBC for quite a while now, and in terms of, you know, I just wanted to get your thoughts on how, you know, being a female presenter, Katherine, in sport, but particularly in the media, has got a lot better over the last 10, 12 years, you would say. And obviously, particularly women's football has had a massive rise. I mean, you've sort of been, your broadcasting career has been in the middle of that. How has it felt to you, and the fact that, you know, thousands of people know your voice across West Yorkshire?
Oh, blimey, don't say that. As far as I'm concerned, there's only ever my mum that listens. Telling me there's actual people listening out there, for goodness sake, you'll give me the heebie-jeebies. Yeah, it's a funny one. I have to say that Touchwood, I've been very, very lucky and very fortunate that I've never really experienced any kind of hostility. I mean, you get the odd message, but not for a very long time, I have to say. Maybe I just don't read them, or maybe I just don't see them. I don't know. It's a difficult one. I think it's getting a lot better. And when you're doing the job and you're turning up at football grounds and you're going into a press box or a commentary box, there are a lot more women there. You're not quite such an oddity as maybe we used to be before. You know, people wouldn't necessarily go, "Ooh, what are you doing?" You know, I'd like to see more women doing the job. I mean, it is still very much the case that you will walk into a press conference and a lot of the time you will be the only woman in there, which can feel a little bit intimidating. And I guess from a personal point of view, I am still slightly conscious of that. And so try and make sure that I've done my homework as much as possible. You're never going to get everything right, but I never want to be in a position to have flung at me, "Oh, blooming women, they don't know anything about football." Well, you know, I don't pretend to be an expert. I pretend to be a journalist. No, technically, I'm qualified as a journalist, I hasten to add, before I get sacked by the BBC. But yeah, it is a lot better. And as I say, I've been very, very lucky that I work with a great team of people. I've never really had any experiences where I've felt out of place or unwelcome. And it is absolutely getting better and better. Now, I think it's harder for people who are a lot more high profile than me, you know, the women who present and commentate and are pundits, particularly on telly. I think they come in for a heck of a lot more flack. Radio is maybe slightly easier in that they can't see you. So people have less scope to go, "Oh gosh, you look a bit rubbish. Oh, you put a bit of weight on. Oh, look at the state of it." You know, you don't get that element of it quite so much on radio as you do on telly, sadly. But I'd like to think that the industry is going very much in the right direction, and football and sport in general is for everybody, and all voices, all opinions should be welcome. And it should be, you know, by all means disagree, by all means have a different opinion. That's great. That's what it's all about. It'd be really boring if we all agreed, but it shouldn't ever be about your gender as to whether your opinion is valid or not, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it's getting better. So that's good.
Good. Brilliant. Well, you'll be a YouTube star after this anyway,
Katherine. Oh, God, don't say that. Absolutely not. Praise for radio all day long.
You'll have millions on this channel watching you.
I know, get some subscribers in now.
Bless you.
Just very quickly, because we know you've got to shoot off, Katherine.
Right.
Just on Bradford City, we just got a couple of questions in from Gaz, our Bradford City correspondent on the channel. You've kind of touched on it there already, but he says, after the protests last season and Rupp's open letter to supporters, do you think that the penny might have dropped a bit in regards to him being more visible and more involved in the running of the club and also investment?
Yeah, I really hope so. I think that fans forum is a big step forward for actual fans. It was quite contentious because obviously we did something of we weren't really trying to bill it as a fans forum when the Chief Executive Ryan Sparks, head of recruitment Stephen Gent, my brain is just melted. Great, that's the fella, the actual manager of Bradford City, came in to see us at BBC Radio Leeds, which was brilliant. I can understand why fans felt that billing that as a fans forum maybe was a little bit not disingenuous, but bottom line is fans want eye contact. They want eyeballs and an opportunity to go, right, this is what I think. I'd like to ask a question. Let me see you. Give me a response. So the fact that they're doing an actual in-person fans forum with all the club's hierarchy, particularly Stefan Rupp. I mean, we've spoken to him as a radio station so few times. I can't even remember. It might be as back as, might even be like 2017, I think, the last time we recorded an interview with Stefan Rupp.
Wow,
so
really?
It's long. Yeah, it's long overdue. I mean, feel free, correct me. I could be, because I have missed a couple of spells on maternity leave, but I don't think he popped up during that time particularly. But things like that are so important to fans, particularly when there are a lot of questions about Bradford City and the future of the club and what's happening with the stadium and the recruitment side of things. Again, there's a lot to talk about there, and to just have that opportunity to get in a room with the hierarchy and go, right, give us some answers, please, is really, really valuable. So hopefully, I think he has maybe realised that while you don't have to be front and centre every single week, the occasional bit of communication goes a really, really long way. So hopefully that'll be the first of a bit more regular interaction with the City fan base.
Brilliant. And just finally, before we let you go, Catherine, Gaz asks, what sort of impact do you think David Sharp can have in his role as head of football?
Yeah, again, big. I'm hoping that we'll get an opportunity again to speak to him before too much longer. He's a decent name in football. He seems to know what he's doing, seems to have had success previously. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see how that dynamic pans out, because the question for me is, what's he doing? And what's Ryan Sparks doing as CEO? You know, how does that dynamic work? What's everyone's job? Who's responsible for what in that little scenario? I think it's a good appointment. And as I say, he's a big name. He obviously knows football inside out. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see quite how he fits into that particular role. And hopefully, again, bring them success. They've been languishing in League Two for far too long, Bradford City. So it'd be nice to see them put in a serious challenge again next season.
It's across the region. I don't know what's up with West Yorkshire and Yorkshire as a whole, but we need to get his act together. What is going on?
Yeah, we really do. Although from a radio point of view, you want one extreme or the other. You either want everything to be amazing or you want everything to be terrible, because it makes for much better radio. If it's just middle of the road all the way, then that's no good at all. So we need the extremes. We like the extremes. It's a lot more fun.
Fantastic. Well, Catherine, really appreciate you coming up. Thank you so much.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
Oh, no, the least I can do. You guys are so helpful to us on BBC Radio Leeds, and, you come on and give your 2 pence. So the least I can do is return the favour, because I'm always badgering you guys. So
we appreciate the plug. We appreciate the plug. That's what we appreciate.
No problem at all. Anytime.
Absolutely. BBC stalwart, Katherine Hannah. Thank you so much. For,
aging presenter, Katherine Hannah. That's what you're going for.
But yeah, we look forward to chatting to you again in the future. Guys, if you've been watching along, please do smash a like on the video, retweet it on X, and also leave us a rating and review on Spotify. I've been Stephen Brown. With me has been Stephen Downs. And as mentioned, we were joined by Katherine Hannah. Katherine, thank you very much.
Oh, thanks very much. Lovely to catch up with you. Have a good summer.
See you later, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.